Alex Muller in the 36 car there, hastily repaired as you heard after a small off, and part of the problem is water across the track. There's standing water on the straights, but there are rivers in certain places, notably Ascari, which has 3 different rivers crossing the track, but they've put the car back together very, very quickly. Fingers crossed that in pole position it will last for the 2 hours. Jet Alliance winners at Silverstone. If you were with us then, you'll have seen that. That was Carl Wendinger and Ryan Sharp. Manuel Collard, just going across the bottom of your picture there, is the man who looked like he might have the whole pole position here until the track dried and let the GT1 cars go through. But as you can see, we are about to start the formation lap here at Monza, and it means in about 3 minutes from now we'll be able to see the full rolling start. 30 plus cars, 15,000 horsepower and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of exotic machinery as we prepare to start the second round of the FIA GT Championship. As you can see, the second round of the FIA GT Championship is about to get underway here at Monza in Italy. We have a full grid, 30 plus cars on the warm-up lap, and we have the one thing we didn't really expect for this race, and that is a dry racetrack.
And a very mixed grid.
Of course.
On board with Maserati. Bizarrely, perhaps Maserati have never won an FIA GT race here at Monza.
They've won all the others though, just about, and double champions, but can't see much out of the windscreen of the number 1 car, unfortunately, as it comes round to take the start. We expect Andrea Bertolini to be at the wheel of that car since he qualified it, but he doesn't have to be, and it could just as easily be Michael Bartels. But I thought that was Andrea Bertolini's stones behind the wheel.
Style, yes, absolutely. This is one of our other on board, the Scuderia Cos car. Fabio Babini taking the first stint there. Jamie Davis will partner him.
And Fabio Babini was the man who qualified the car as the grid in race order, gets the signal to start racing, and they can start overtaking way back behind the start line as the Corvette and the Aston Martin run side by side towards the first corner. They duelled for 15 minutes yesterday over this pole position. It was decided in favour of the Aston Martin, but it looks like turn 1 in Rettifilio is about to be decided in favour of the number 3 SRT Corvette. Indeed it is. The Aston goes back one place, but he's already launched an attack as we ride round with Alan Simonsen. There's a battle for the lead going on in front of us. They're still side by side. The number 2 Maserati in third place. A whole pack of GT2 cars mixed in with the GT1s, and they are still side by side as they come up to Della Roggia. That it's skating all over the place, jumps the curbs, and has that settled the matter, or will they continue this as they belt on down towards the Ascari chicane at 170 miles an hour?
Alex Muller there taking a great line through Della Roggia, and Christophe Bouchou having to give way, but it's Bouchou on the inside line, and contact there between the Maserati and the Corvette, having to go round the outside line. Alan Simonsen in close pursuit, still that great gaggle of GT2 cars.
Huge big wodge of Ferraris. Look at them, 3, 6, 9, there's a dozen Ferraris there must be, all side by side. It's still the 36 Aston Martin in the lead, and Bouchou in second place is dropping back, isn't it?
I thought I saw Alan Simon making a dive down the inside of the Maserati, and he's made the place stick. So Simonsen from P5 I think has now made his way up perhaps even to third in this first lap.
Well, lots going on, and we're still heading towards the Parabolica for the first time. And that number 2 Maserati has got a rear view mirror full up with big yellow Corvette. They did, as we saw, touch door handles under brakes for the Rettifilio chicane, but now the number 5 car dipping up the inside as we see the beginnings of what's going to be the story for the next 15 minutes. I think GT1 cars coming through this GT2 field. It's going to be very busy indeed.
Absolutely, a view from inside one of the GTs. That's the AF Corsa car.
51. Christian Montanari qualified that car yesterday, was looking very quick indeed. The GT1 drivers have moved to GT2, Biaggi and Montanari, and it looks like they've taken a round to get to grips with the car properly, but you're looking at the number 50 there.
And already, would you believe, a car being lapped in the background there. The white Dodge Viper local entry has really been way off the pace, and embarrassingly for them, lapped after just one complete circuit.
Well, here's this battle here for 4th and 5th between Maserati and Corvette. Alex de Grauw in the number 2 Maserati, and Marcel Fassler, as we saw, in number 5. Here comes the number 1 Maserati, still picking off the GT2 cars. It's taking a long time to go through them, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot of them. There's a huge pack of GT2s ahead, and Richard Westbrook still ahead of the Maserati in the Porsche there. That situation won't last, but good racing through this GT2 pack. That's one of the CR Scuderia cars. Andrew Kirkcaldy, the Scot, there sharing with Rob Bell, and they're putting good lap times in already. Very close racing in the GT2s is what we anticipate. On board again with Fabio Babini. He's now chasing up onto the back of Christian Montanari in the AF Corsa car ahead there.
Very fast circuit, Monza, the fastest circuit we go to all year, and you just got a glimpse of it there. Back on board with the Aston Martin, Simonsen jumping the curbs at Rettifilio, heading out towards the second chicane. The rest of the field still thundering past the commentary box, which is right opposite the start-finish line. So that's how many cars we've got on track.
And already Simonsen wanting to pressure Christophe Bouchou, in fact getting closer to the rear wing of the Corvette ahead of him as the Corvette and the Maserati look on. Quickest lap so far to Simonsen, in fact, in his pursuit of Christophe Bouchou, but Alex Muller still has the lead, and a healthy lead of over a second at the end of this first couple of laps. Curb hopping from the AF Corsa car, number 50, Tony Vielander taking the start there, and there's your battle for second place, and indeed the battle for 4th as well.
Still got the Alex de Grauw Maserati ahead of Marcel Fassler, and there doesn't seem to be an opportunity for Fassler to close up, but as you say, Alan Simonsen's closed right up on the back of Christophe Bouchou, and this is the battle now, isn't it, as they hop out of Ascari. getting onto the power much earlier in Parabolica now that it's dried out. You can see it, the back end just starting to break away. Simonsen went on the power as early as he can. It's a long corner, but it's not the hardest one on the circuit. It's here as you come down towards Reggio Emilia. They touch about 175 miles an hour before they start going down the gearbox and standing on the brakes. You hop the curves here, and then you're back on the power again, and it's back up to 170 miles an hour on your way to Della Roggia.
Through the Curva Grande. Simonsen very good on the brakes into Reggio Emilia. Let's see if he can be as close up the back of the Corvette into Della Roggia, but nowhere to go for an overtaking manoeuvre yet. Still Alexander Negrão able to hold off the attentions of the Corvette behind him and hand to Marcel Fessler.
So Muller leads it after 3 laps. Bouchou, Simonsen, Negrão, Fassler, as you saw there, still stuck in 5th place, and there's a Maserati behind him. That's Andrea Bertolini, and he's about 8 seconds behind. So this top 5 have already pulled right away, but of course some of those other cars were stuck in the GT2 field and are only just beginning to pull their way through. So it could be quite a while before we see a full-on battle at the front of this field.
Yeah, Richard Westbrook in the head of the GT2 field, able to maintain pace with some of the slower GT1 cars, even in these dry conditions. We're back on board with Alan Simonsen again, another tear down towards Parabolica. Terrific speeds and the approach to this corner. 3 wide coming into Ascari. Oh, sort yourselves out, boys.
Well, the GT2s, of course, having a close battle of their own, as Brian was pointing out. Richard Westbrook hanging on to that GT2 lead. Tony Villander is second. Andrew Capaldi is in 3rd place. Christian Montanari, we're with now, is actually 4th in GT2, ahead of Tim Mullen and then Fabio Babini.
Little pass there up the inside. Looks as though Tim Mullen's got the better of Montanari on the approach to the corner there and made that pass stick.
And that's the number 8 Lamborghini of Peter Cox on the right-hand side of your picture.
Fabrizio Gollin looking to go through, and does, on the run down to Reggio Emilia. Another place taken by Gollin, having to make that start from towards the back of the grid. We're back on board with the GT2 battle, and what a battle it is through the Reggio Emilia again.
Watching every move on the monitors, of course. The team can see what's happening to the cars. You can see a forest of aerials over the paddock out the back here. You don't just need £250,000 worth of race car, you need another £500,000 worth of stuff to make it work. 37 there is the GT1 Ferrari of ACA Argentina. Esteban Tuero and Gaston Mazzacane share that car. The 2 Argentinian drivers, both from Formula 1, and I'm not sure which one of them started this race in 37. It's Tuero.
Esteban Tuero, I think, yes. In the car there in the picture, we saw that Carl Wendlinger had finally cleared Richard Westbrook's Porsche and is now off in pursuit of Andrea Bertolini's Maserati. So the GT1 cars starting to take their proper place up at the head of the field.
As they percolate through, it's going to be interesting. Remember that Wendlinger won this race here last year with Brian Sharp in the sunshine but on a dry track, and he was the round 1 winner. So he comes here with 40 kilos of success ballast, which does make a difference. Of course, it's like having a small passenger in the car with you, and it'll be interesting to see whether he can still show the same sort of pace. And he's got a long way to come. A puncture in qualifying sent him to the back of our grid for today. Just a little touch with the Corvette there. We're inside the cockpit of number 62, Fabio Babini's Ferrari. Celine on the right-hand side, yes.
Being taken by Esteban Tuero, the Ferrari driver, getting down the inside into Reggio Emilia, and unfortunately Anthony Kumpen not being able to defend the position, so losing out. GT2, the Ferraris, definitely the class of the GT2 field here for the time being. Porsche is coming on a little bit stronger, and of course the
we've got Richard Westbrook, as Graham is tapping me on the shoulder to point out, sitting there on the leaderboard, still hanging on to 8th place overall, still the leader of GT2 by some considerable margin. Let's have a look at this. He's something like 10 seconds, I beg your pardon, clear of the second place man, which is Andrew Caccoli in the 56 CR Scuderia car. So he's got a fair bit of cushion, which was a gift to him from Emmanuel Collard yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. Emmanuel was mighty in qualifying yesterday, but made the point that the qualifying was all right in a drying condition, but they were on an essentially dry track towards the end, and yet they were able to maintain that advantage. We had all expected that Ferrari might be stronger in the dry than the Porsche. Not so here at Monza this week.
And we've all expected to see this man show us what he can do in the wet. Tony Vidlander was mighty in the Maserati at Mugello when we had very similar weather conditions to what we've seen here for the last 2 days, and I was quite looking forward to seeing him do it again in a Ferrari, but we have a dry track, and I'm sure everybody on the circuit is very relieved about that. And what have we got going on here?
It's Alan Simonson still monstering the back of the Christophe Bouchou Corvette for second place, but not able to make inroads into Bouchou's position at the moment. They're going through Della Roggia there. They'll be coming through the Lesmos and out down to the run towards Ascari. Here's your leader, 36, Alex Muller, still in first place. Second there, just curb hopping, keeping the car on the red and white rumble strips, not straying as any further, as Alan Simonson still tucked in behind but can't get any progress. He's still half a second or so behind, and that seems to be as near as he can get for the moment. In the background, fourth place, Alexander Negrau's pulled away from Marcel Fessler in his pursuing Corvette.
Yes, there's about 1.5 seconds last time they went past the start-finish line, which is quite a distance on track, as you'll see as we get into the cockpit with Simonson. Pit wall watching, this is the Gigawave team.
Still right on the limits of adhesion through Parabolica. There, Alan Simonson stretching the limits of G-force on the car there. The car wanting to snake, just snaking about under braking as well. He really does want to get up and close to Christophe Bouchou, put more pressure on him. He wants that position back.
Bouchou looked very strong here yesterday afternoon as the track dried, didn't he? That SRT Corvette looked very, very fierce.
Simonson coming up from 7th place on the grid, so already making good progress, but knowing Alan, he'll want even more. He won't be satisfied with that.
But we do seem to have a gap developing there in this little battle back to 4th and 5th, and then a big gap. We're waiting for the GT1 cars who've now cleared the GT2 field. That's the number 1 Maserati, that's Andrea Bertolini. Of course, this is his home event, it's Maserati's home event, so he wants to show up well here. At the moment, though, he's in 6th place, and behind him he now has Carl Wendlinger by some 6 seconds or more. So Wendlinger's got a lot of driving to do if he wants to close up with the people in front of him. He is 23 seconds adrift of P1 at the moment.
Into Ascari again, and a lot of curb taken on the entry there by Alan Simonson. A little more circumspect through the middle section and clattering the external exit again on this run down to Parabolica. Watch to see if he can close.
The Corvette just drifting out there in the back end, wiggling a bit under power, but look at the lap times now. 1:46 is our quick time at the moment, which is 3 seconds faster than anything we saw in qualifying yesterday. And the sun, believe it or not, is beginning to shine at Monza.
Early unscheduled stop for Andrea Pagini in the RB Immo. Celine will see them out of place on the track shortly as the leaders sweep past one of the G2 Moslers entered by the Gota 1 team, racing as GTO Charouz. Antonin Charouz involved in this operation as well as others in prototype racing. Still this battle going on at the head of the field. Andrea Bertolini looking to be closing up on Marcel Fessler. but still some 8-9 seconds adrift, so a way to go to bridge that gap.
They're all pretty even as they go through the sections here together. If you look at the timing sectors, Marcel Fessler just a tad faster, and everybody pretty much coming up to the same kind of lap times and lap speeds. There's an oil pressure problem for Andrea Piccini in that Celine now in pit lane, as you said, Graham.
Yeah.
And that's the worst thing you can have, really, isn't it?
Yes, that's their second stop, unfortunately. And other early pit callers are Richard Williams in the 59 Porsche for a stop-go penalty, a drive-through rather penalty.
And here comes that attack from Simonsen. He's alongside Christophe Bouchou now. This is the run down to Rettifilli, 170 miles an hour. Who's going to brake first? And they brake together, and it's even. Oh, Bouchou's overdone it. He's off on the grass. He's across the track. Simonsen goes past. Well, they braked together, but I think Bouchou just braked a little bit harder. And through goes Simonsen, and Bouchou, fantastic recovery to hang on to third place and not be parked. Thumbs up from the team on the pit wall. That was nicely done, boys.
Yeah, Bouchou was never going to give up that position in a fight, but finally outbraked himself a little bit into Rettifilli under pressure from Alan Simonsen, who will now do his level best to progress further away from the front of the car as we look at another little pairing of Celines behind us, and in front of them both the 37 Esteban Tuero driven Ferrari 550 Maranello, a car that dominated here in its heyday between 2003-2005. No one got a chance at winning here at Monza other than one of these cars.
Now in 10th place, that's the local Viper, and that looks like their problems have brought them to an early bath, as we say. Mauro Simoncini is looking for somewhere to park that and have a walk back to the pits. Tuero in the Ferrari was in 10th place. As we've said, we're looking at Sean Edwards, I think, in the 111 Celine in the middle of that picture there, but I'm just trying to look as they went past last time if the gaps are changing. Carl Wenninger was 23 seconds behind the race leader. He's still 23 seconds behind the race leader, and he's still about 5 seconds behind Andrea Bertolini, who is 6th in the number 1 Maserati, so it's pretty much settled down now.
Good gap still at the head of GT2 for Richard Westbrook, and there he's just going out of shot as the next GT1 car comes through picture, and that's the JMB Maserati running with Stefan Daoudi at the wheel and partnered by Ben Alcott. Here's your GT2 battle for second place at least. Montanari ahead of Vilander and Babini, the Caldine Mullen, as quick as you can say, through they go.
There's a whole string of them there, Ferraris. There's Sean Edwards caught in the middle of that somewhere in the 111 Celine, but apart from that,
it's 8 Ferraris
back
to back. On board with one of them, this is a Scuderia Recos version.
Babini going very wide there and using all the road on the exit to Ascari. That can lead to problems, as we've seen, but as the conditions are drying out, there's more and more opportunity for that. You have to use the curbs in the chicanes, and you have to use all the runoff area there is here at Monza.
Back on board with second place in class, Christian Montanari, still staying ahead of his teammate Tony Vilander by about a second and a half. That's the gap as you can see it, and behind, look at that train of cars. Fabulous sight Ferraris are, and so at home here in Italy.
That front end of the Celine there, Sean Edwards just skating about under brakes. Mechanical grip has mechanical grip at the back end. Is that the Ferrari in front just a little bit stepping out there, but mechanical grip is an issue for the Celine, as well as the fact that it's down on power compared to the rest of the GT1 field. That was Henri Moser on the pit wall, by the way, the very tall Swiss driver who was the GT3. Oh, he's off and back on. Simonsen ran very wide. I said you had to use all the curb, but not that much. That was the exit of Parabolica, and has it cost him a place?
It cost him several places. He's down to 5th now. Christophe Bouchou, Alexandre Graham, Marcel Fessler are all making their way past Alan Simonsen with that indiscretion.
Well, that was all looking so good, and it's that easy to go from hero to zero, isn't it, when you're racing? There's nowhere to hide, is there?
Absolutely not. These 2-hour races, once billed as endurance events, are now 2-hour sprints, and there's the proof in the pudding. You've got to be on it all the time, and the smallest mistake really does punish you, as Marcel Fessler sets his car's fastest lap as a result of that.
Here we are on board, and it was lapping a Porsche, and he runs wide onto the grass, onto the gravel, and as Graham said, car after car going through. He held it very
well,
nicely. A little bit of rally, and he's banged the tyre wall and back out, and there goes just about everybody past him now, and he's going back down the order as a result, and that is a danger when you are lapping slower traffic, especially in fast corners.
Is that GT2 streaming again? What a sight they make. Fantastic sights and sounds of Monza.
Well, you can see there Sean Edwards was caught under brakes by the Ferrari and then just pulled away in the Saleen. But and on a power circuit like Monza, he might be able to fight them off for quite a while, but I would suspect that sooner or later the agility of the Ferrari is going to pay off.
Yes, and sooner or later Sean Edwards will be handing over to his co-driver, who won't be able to pedal the car with quite the same speed, as we're waiting for a Gigawave pit stop now. So it's been occasioned by the tyres getting scrubbed with dirt as a result of his off-road excursion.
And it's possibly the result of a little bit of damage on the side as well. But again, we've got Nigel Stepney on the pit wall, and he's never afraid to make the bold call, as we've seen, and he's calling it as quickly as he can. They have to make 2 pit stops. They have to do 2 driver changes. If it was me, I'd be doing as many things as I can now, because I've got to come in whether I want to or not. So you minimise the damage by getting everything. So this will be a full service pit stop.
Limping into pit lane is Andrea Bertolini. I think he's got a problem. It's a tyre. Deflated tyre, I think, from the look of the way the car's coming in. Is that the left rear?
It's here.
Yep,
I think
left
this
rear
one's
hanging off the
sticking
rim.
out of the wheel arch there.
Hopefully manage to get it back without causing any damage to the ancillaries. We're going to take the opportunity to do a driver change. At Silverstone we saw a small change to the rules which allowed the teams only to make 1 mandatory driver change during their 2 scheduled pit stops. Now we're back to the old regulations where they have to make 2 driver changes, 1 at each of their pit stops. So the team taking advantage to get Michael Bartels on board, and that's all that remains when your tyre lets go at speed on the Maserati.
Hasn't done any collateral damage as far as I can see by looking at that. Michael Bartels into the car very quickly. They didn't put any fuel on that, did they?
No, didn't seem to stop for fuel there. They've got a fairly long window to go to on fuel on these cars. Should be able to run the first hour.
Whether you want to or not, I'm not sure. They've changed tyres. I don't know whether it would have been worth putting the fuel in and trying to run this for another hour. That's a bit of bodywork, isn't it? Is that Maserati bodywork, do we think?
Looks like the inside of a wheel arch, doesn't it? So it would be a fair assumption, I think, that may have come off the inside of the rear left wheel arch of that Mazda we just saw coming in. Andrea Bertolini bringing the car back without, hopefully, here's a replay. And yes, well spotted, camera crew. Oh, all sorts of debris coming off there now. Will that mean that we have to go and collect that? And if it does, will we have to do it under a safety car? In fact, we are. I can see 3 yellow sections up on the sectors. We've got yellow turns, yellow flags at that turn, debris all over the place, and I wonder if we're going to have to bring out the safety car.
Well, the screen just says debris on track, which of course we know. And Philip Peter takes over from Alan Simonson. Nice new slicks going on, the gravel coming out of the wheel arch.
Pit work's so much a big part of these races in sports cars. It's not just the speed on the track, it's the speed in the pit as well.
And the power of that engine, as Philip Peter unleashed that Aston Martin, making the camera picture go all unnecessary. And why wouldn't it? If you stand next to one of those things, you'll know exactly what we mean. Just to recap, it is Muller in the lead in the 36 Jet Alliance Aston Martin from Christophe Bouchou in the number 3 SRT Corvette. Alex de Grauw is in 3rd place for Maserati. Fassler is 4th in the Corvette. Wendlinger is 5th, and this man was 6th, or this car was 6th when Alan Simonson brought it in but wait to be seen where it will be after that pit stop.
GT2 battle raging on. The 51 car as the old tyres from the Gigawave Aston are pushed away. The Michelin men will descend on those with probes and all sorts of exciting instruments to find out just what's been going inside the carcass of that tyre. Here's the GT2 battle we were looking a moment ago, and Sean Edwards getting racy, trying to make up his place in the G2 car as down pit lane comes the 59 Porsche, which has struggled a bit. This was Richard Williams who had that early drive-through penalty, so he's come in now to hand over to David Ashburn. Back to the track action, and it's fast and furious down through the GT2 field as they run through Ascari again. We're looking at the 55 car, the CRS entry of Tim Mullen, but we're on board now with Paolo Roberti in one of the BMS Scuderia Italia cars. A race entered and they're running nose and tail at the moment. Davide Rigoni just behind Roberti.
It is the Porsche which leads GT2 as we ride in the 77 Ferrari. It's Richard Westbrook out in front of GT2. Christian Montanari is second in 51. Sean Edwards is in the middle of it. There he is now, just going through the bottom of your picture. And behind him he's got Tony Villander, Fabio Babini, Andrew Caccordi, Tim Mullen, Paolo Roberti, David Rigon, and Russo in the other Ferrari. So it's just a queue.
Yes, and it looked as though Matthias Russo in the advanced engineering car was looking to make a pass. In fact, he has, I think, made that pass now.
It's just being snapped up by the Aston Martin.
Yes, not Philip Peter now aboard the Gigawave Aston, making progress back through the field after their enforced stop.
Yes, a little off by Alan Simonson, a change of tyres, and down the order you go, my boy. And let's have a look. Where is the number 10 Aston Martin now? It's right down the order, isn't it?
Yes, dropped all the way down to 23rd place last time through, so he'll be making some of those places back, but of course it means weaving his way through all these GT2 cars again, and they are, as you said, Richard, embroiled in their own battle, won't necessarily be looking in the mirrors all the time, though the blue flags from the marshals should give them assistance in understanding that there's somebody potentially much quicker about to fly past their ear.
And that might be about to happen there, because Christian Montanari is about to be snapped up, I think, by Sean Edwards. I think the Celine might well carry him past there, but he is pretty much in a battle with these these 9 cars. G2 is a GT2 car that isn't built in sufficient numbers to be homologated as GT2.
And very efficient they are too. This is one run by the Auto Racing Club of Bratislava. An interested pit full of spectators watches on.
Muller leads it. Bouchou is in second place in the SRT Corvette. Alex de Grau is in third place. That's Marcel Fassler, Carl Wendlinger, Fabrizio Gollin, Peter Cox and Esteban Tuero.
Side by side coming down into the braking area for Rettifilio. And Sean Edwards.
This second round of the FIA GT Championship is 17 laps old, and we're riding in number 10 Aston Martin of Philip Peter after a pit stop, enforced pit stop caused by an off by his teammate Alan Simonson, just about where we are now, going through the parabolica. He ran up the back of a slower GT2 car, ran wide, too wide, onto the gravel, and back onto track, brought it home, changed the tyres, changed the driver, back out on track, and now busy trying to climb the leaderboard, which is happening remarkably rapidly. He was down as low as 23rd, he's now up to 14th place, and that's good going, but he's got a whole bunch of GT2 cars in front of him, who all racing their own race. But there's the man who did all the damage.
Alan, what happened during your stint out there? Because you were running well at the front, and then an incident occurred.
Yeah, I mean, it was as you say, it was going really well, and just clearing some slower traffic, and coming into parabolica, I was going to try and pass him on the inside, but he moved to the inside, and then I went on the outside, and as I crossed behind him, I lost my front downforce and just ran into the sand. So really unfortunate, but I mean, it's not over yet. We just changed our strategy, but obviously we were going pretty well. The car was good, so anyway, shit happens.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, you're welcome.
That's interesting, isn't it? That they said he lost the front downforce, and it's not something you think about straight away when you look at these cars, but downforce, aerodynamics, they're all an issue, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. And finally, a little bit of fresh air for Philip Peter to drive through, having cleared this gaggle of GT2 cars, and in fact coming through now is the race leader 36, Alex Muller, lapping that battle as well. So he's almost fast and frantic in the GT2 field. This is the problem, they're having their own battle, Richard, while others are trying to make their way past.
Absolutely. Fabio Gabini all elbows there in the cockpit of the Scuderia Cars Ferrari. Managed to hold it together. We've seen people who weren't quite that lucky, but look at, he's back on it straight away, isn't he, and anxious to be getting on with the chase after the 61 Porsche, which is our GT2 leader. And let's have a look. It's well, the times have all changed as they go across the start finish line. We'll just have to wait and see what the gap is this time around, but it was quite large, and it is now quite small. And there's a whole queue of Ferraris gradually towing up towards the tail end of the Porsche.
Yes,
one of them.
The gap's down to about a dozen seconds, and it was considerably more than that. So the Ferrari is starting to make inroads into the Porsche's GT2 lead.
Muller, Bushi, Negrao up front in GT1. Richard Westbrook, as we've just seen, has got Philip Peter coming through. And look,
Sean Edwards finally makes that pass, not for a class position, but for a track position on the Christian Montanari. They, of course, are having to give way into the Della Roggia, and Sean Edwards has been threatening to do that in the G2 class Celine for some time, and finally made it stick.
He's been a long time coming, but as Graham says, it changes nothing as far as Montanari is concerned. He is still second in GT2, but it does mean that he's got nobody between him and the man behind him, in this case Tony Villander, who is his teammate, so there shouldn't be too much friction there.
Not much.
Should there?
No.
No.
If you want to beat anybody in this race, it's your teammate. Second, third, fourth in class, and fifth all together there. So really close racing in GT2, which is what we've become accustomed to. In fact, if one thing was disappointing about the Silverstone race, and very little was, it was that we didn't have as fast and frantic a battle in GT2 as we clearly have here in Monza. Fabio
Gabini, again, absolutely monstering this little Ferrari through the chicanes here. This thing's a lively car to drive around here, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and of course we've got a blend of tyres as well. We've got Pirellis on the 62 car, as we see, and Michelin's on those ahead. So it's not just about cars, it's about tyres as well.
Well, it's not just about GT2 either. We are thinking about pit stops. We have to make 2 pit stops and 2 driver changes. Have to do that. And we are looking at a countdown timer that says we've been racing for the best part of 35, 40 minutes. And everyone will be thinking pit stops, fuel, tyres, and the rest of it.
More lappery within class-to-class battles as Christophe Bouchou slides his way past more GT2 traffic in his pursuit of Alex Muller, who's still out ahead.
Richard Westbrook continues to lead it.
Andrew Cocodi looking to, sorry, not Andrew Cocodi, Fabio Babini coming to take a place away from Tony Vilander. They, of course, are not having it all their own way this afternoon. We've used to seeing them dominant.
And they didn't at Silverstone either, did they? It wasn't the all-conquering AF Corsa that we've seen for the past couple of years.
Matteo Malicelli there standing by, ready to receive his co-driver Paolo Roberti in the 77 BMS Scuderia Italia car. We've got the two Maseratis in line astern now, though not so on track position. Michael Bartel's way down the order and having to recover from the puncture which afflicted Andrea Bertolini during his stint at the wheel.
But what we are seeing is the leaders coming through. We just caught a glimpse of Bouchou's Corvette. The black and white SRT Corvette is in second place. Alex de Grauw in the number 2 Maserati is in third place, and somewhere in the mix behind that will be Marcel Fassler in the number 5 Corvette. So they are now up with the GT2 cars and lapping them, and that's the circuit doing that. Monza is the fastest circuit we go to, and it's the place where you see, like that, the most difference between GT1 and GT2.
Philip Peter making his way past Richard Westbrook's class-leading GT2 Porsche, so that elevates him to 12th position. His next target will be Wolfgang Kaufmann in the AT Racing Corvette.
And as he works up towards we've got the first of our GT2 pit stops, the number 50 Ferrari, the AF Corsa car is in. We're doing fuel and a driver change and fresh slick tyres.
So it'll be Jimmy Bruni who takes over from Tony Vilander. The fuel is done. There's the BMS Scuderia. Out you come, lad. There's the BMS Scuderia Italia car. Paolo Roberti on his hands and knees crawling out of the car as he hands over to Matteo Malicelli.
And as they strap themselves in, I was about to say, I noticed as we were watching the last of those cars coming through Parabolica, in the background, the clouds heading towards Monza are big and black. It may be sunny at the moment. There's an awful lot of weather heading our way.
Slick pickwork from the AF Corsa team, getting Tony Vilander's car turned round and Jimmy Bruni back on track as quickly as they can. A little bit of a delay for the BMS Scuderia team in their haste to get out of the way. That isn't what you want to see. That's the sister car to our GT2 leader. So the number 60, Michael Forstner, unfortunately has buried that deep in the gravel.
I wonder if we know where that is, because that looks to me as if that might well be just coming out of or coming to the second chicane to Delarosa. Yeah.
It's going to need a good toe to get out of there. That is well and truly buried.
One of the Mosers coming in, the number 103 pit stop time. As Graham said earlier on, 2 pit stops, 2 driver changes. We're at that point now where everybody's thinking about doing them, getting them out of the way, and this running in the G2 class, which has expanded this year.
Yes, indeed it has, with the arrival of the Go-to-1 racing team wanting to race as GTO Charouz. Adam Lachko it is who's brought the car in, the Czech driver, and over to another Czech, Alice Jurasek, whose experience thus far was in Skoda Octavia Cup racing, so a bit of a step up into the dizzy heights of the FIA GTs, and curb hopping from the number 5 Corvette, still in the hands of Marcel Fassler, as in comes the Henri Moser car, the Kessel Racing Ferrari.
It was Henri Moser on the pit wall, so presumably that is, yes, his helmet's touching the roof, that is Henri Moser inside. And let's go back on track and see our Maserati battle. And the number 1 has worked its way past number 2 as he bids to unlap himself following that puncture. As Graham said, it was Bertolini who had a puncture. Bartels is behind the wheel, did a fantastic final stint at Silverstone. And Michael Bartels really hustled that car. He's now in front of Alex de Grauw, who is in third place. That just goes to show how far he's got to go, because he's got another 16 seconds before he sees the leader and gets on the same lap. That, of course, doesn't take into account the fact that the leader and everybody else who hasn't yet stopped has got 2 pit stops to make, and Maserati only has 1.
Having been towed out of the gravel, Michael Forstner has managed to regain the track, so they'll probably bring him in for a precautionary check over if nothing else, and at this point probably for Michael's benefit a driver change.
Yes, you would think so, wouldn't you?
What a fabulous car that is, the Maserati MC12.
Even with bits missing.
Even with bits missing, matters not.
And that's the number 3 car, Christophe Bouchou. Is this going to be a driver change? It'll have to be. There's no point in making a pit stop unless you do that. So out goes Bouchou, in goes Masson, on go new slick tyres. I presume we've missed the fuelling.
Xavier Masson's been a bit of a revelation, again new to the category but straight up to the pace.
He's new to everything, isn't he? He's only about 4. You know how policemen get younger? Well, race drivers get younger as well. He is one of an encouragingly young generation of drivers that we're seeing in this championship, who are fresh to the series but bursting with talent.
Yeah, we've seen SRT in the series in the past, but not for a full season at the top level, which is what they're doing this year, and they have really hit the ground running in the top GT1 category.
Absolutely, and you can see for yourself now that where there was bright sunshine on this start-finish line, it is now looking a little bit murky out there. Muller, Masson, Negrao, Fassler, Wendlinger up into 5th place, Gollin 6th, Kumpen in 7th place in the number 4 Celine. That's not a bad performance from him and that car, because it hasn't been going as well as it could do, but we still have an awful long way to go before we see the checkered flag. Tim Sugden's just climbed into the seat of the 55 CR Scuderia Ferrari at its first of 2 scheduled pit stops and driver changes. Everybody seems to be opting for a stop now. As you can see, pit lane is very busy. We've got some of the leaders and the front runners have been in. the Lamborghini behind the Ferrari, the white car coming out of pit lane now, has been in and had some investigation going on at the back, and we remember that this car has a habit of eating drive shafts, so we're just tempted to wonder whether there may or may not be a problem for that car as he gets his nose chopped off by the Corvette. But it's probably still Alex Muller leading up front from Negrão in the number 2 Maserati, and then after that it's all pretty much changed, and at this point we'll see this number 10 Aston Martin, I think, come back towards true position, because it made an early pit stop with an off and a tyre change as a result, and I think we'll see it come back up the order.
Marcel Fessler into the pits out of 3rd position, and we'll hand over to Jean-Denis Delatraz.
We are speculating that when you have to make, and there's the 51 AF Corsa car in pit lane, and the driver change there as well is complete. As you can see, the outgoing driver strapping the incomer into his seat, so Christian Montanari helping Thomas Biaggi to get really comfortable in the seat of the car, and he's the only one allowed to touch it while they're fueling it. We were speculating that if you had to make 2 stops and you had to change drivers twice, you would run a short middle stint with your slower driver, and there will be a slower driver. It might be a different person at different tracks, and they've got a problem there.
Jean-Denis Delatraz having stalled the number 5 Corvette, that's cost them precious time in pit lane, one thing you can't afford.
Yes, they're not Formula 1 pit stops, but you can make time and lose time, and sat there while you refire a hot engine, which can take 5 or a little bit longer seconds, as you saw. It's really frustrating when you've spent half an hour on track trying to get the car as high up as you can, and then you lose all the time you've won in the pit lane trying to get it started again. We'll find out how good teamwork on track. Both of the Phoenix Corvettes on track together, and we'll find out when we get them round this lap exactly where they fit into the order of things, because as everybody comes in, the race order becomes a little bit scrambled, obviously enough. Mike Hazeman in the car has just taken it over from Fabrizio Gollin. There he is with Diana in pit lane.
Fabrizio, you made quite a battle through the pack there, starting at the very back, and you were in 6th when you came in to change.
Yep. In this weekend, the weather was crazy, so for everybody it was very difficult to take the good way. So in the qualifying we were very unlucky, but in this moment I think we decided we did a good setup, because we decided to have more downforce to help us to overtake the slow car in the dirty place, because the track in all weekend the track was dirty, so now it's dirty, and there is not a lot of grip. We prefer to use the downforce to help us to cross the dirty line. In this moment we are good, but in the race you never know, so if the temperature improve, it's not good for us. So I hope to stay not in a perfect situation. So, but in any case, we are doing a good race. I hope to finish in a point position, because it's very important for the championship. So we look for the championship, so we want to finish the race.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He said at the beginning of that, if you can remember that far back, he said we were very unlucky in qualifying. You say that again, can't you?
Absolutely, yes, they were absolutely T-boned by a rear-facing Anthony Kumpen in his Celine. Unfortunately, got way out of line on his outlap and rode straight through the middle of the second chicane and caught a totally innocent Fabrizio Gollin on his way. Looking at Lucas Lickner-Hoyer in pit lane, which means that we're anticipating a pit stop from Alex Muller in the lead, number 36, Jet Alliance Racing Aston.
He hasn't stopped. Neither has second place Alex Negrão in the number 2 Maserati. Neither has Anthony Kumpen in the number 4 Celine, who is now in 3rd place. I bet they never expected that. And then just about everybody else has. Sean Edwards is still out there in the Celine. in G2, but pretty much everybody else has made a pit stop, so these are the last stragglers to come in, although I don't think you can call the race leader a straggler, really, can you?
No, hardly that, and Alex Negrão has had a good first stint, but he's still fallen back by some 20 seconds from an absolutely
Sean Edwards might be coming in.
Oh dear, that's the Celine Sean Edwards ARC Bratislava entry, not making it all the way round. Now I wonder what on earth has happened there.
I think it's not the front. I think it's the left front.
Got all
it's
four
not
rolling, isn't it? And
it's just got no tower, and it's in the wrong place. He was apparently weaving from side to side before that happened, so that would suggest he was running out of fuel. There is the race leader in pit lane. It's about 30-second drive-through on a pit stop. If you just drove through pit lane, it takes about 30 seconds at Monza. And we've clicked a stopwatch as the car came to a halt. Jet Alliance know they're not the quickest team in the pit stop, but they also know that they've improved it enormously, and they are better than they used to be. The key to this is how long they stay with the fuel connected before the jack can lift the car up and the mechanics can change the wheels, and then how quickly you can change a wheel using an air gun and just your bare hands and no one to help you. That little fumble there won't have improved the situation. Throw the wheel away, put the new one on, straight on. Just not the perfect pit stop, is it? You can see he's really anxious about this. He's under pressure, and it's just adding a second here and a second there. There goes the rear wheel. On goes the wheel nut now. Gun goes on, and it's just climbing. 1 minute and 8 seconds. That is far too long, isn't it?
Yes, the right side of the car finished long before the left, unfortunately, for the rather embarrassed wheelman there.
Yes, it was awful, really, just to call his faults just like that. But it's their moment of pressure, the mechanics, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and it has to be said that the Formula One style pit stop, where 20-odd people descend on the car, isn't how it's done in sports car racing. We're allowed a maximum of 4 people to touch the car in pit lane. We've got another little battle, lovely battle going on here. Philip Peter getting past the second of the 2 Corvettes on the braking again for Rettifilio, holding the inside line. Delatraz not wanting to give way but having to, and so Philip Peter back up to 5th place. Remember, they took their stop early. So Philip Peter driving very nicely past the 2 Corvettes in his pursuit, and now we can have a word with Alex Muller coming out of the lead.
The car and take my helmet off, so I was in the back of the garage. I didn't saw the pit stop. I have to check it. The car is very good, thanks to Jet Alliance. They gave me a very good car, and it was just easy to lead the pack.
I mean, the conditions here have really changed, haven't they? It was very hot, and now it's cooled down a bit. Will that make much of a change for the rest of the race?
Well, hopefully the weather stays. The track is completely dry, and it was from the beginning on. So we're lucky it stays. If not, well, it's the casinos then, Italian Grande Casino.
Thanks for the moment, Alex.
Thank you.
Yellow flags in the middle sector of the circuit, although I'm not quite sure why. Alex Negrão is currently shown as our race leader in the number 2 Maserati, but we've got all kinds of stuff going on here because Philip Peter has just got past the Corvette, and behind him, as you can see, Delatraz is about to be passed by another Corvette, and I think he's about to lose another place, which is pretty much what we expected. Miguel Ramos is waiting for that number 2 car to come in. Looked like he was running onto the pit. We'll think, well, where is he then?
Yeah, Mike Hazelman's in the number 6 car, looking to get ahead of his teammate and get off in pursuit of Philip Peter, but Peter quicker than both of them at the moment, and I wonder if it is that Delatraz is just slightly holding up Mike Hazelman's in the car behind there. Headlights ablaze as they need to be at the moment. It is getting darker, and I wonder if Lucas Linklahoya in the Jet Alliance Aston is casting an eye to the sky, because he it was who was caught out in the wet this morning.
And there comes the number 2 car. Finally, Alex Negrão comes out of the lead after 30 laps. And I think he is the last person to stop, as you know. Sean Edwards won't be stopping, so although it says he hasn't made any pit stops, he's not going to arrive. So yes, he's the last stopper, and Ramos, as we saw, was waiting for him. bundle him out and throw him on the floor. No, don't touch me, I'll do it myself.
Good pit work has been a key to race wins in the past for the Vitaphone Maserati team, and slick pit work is so important here. Looks as though they may be electing, no, they are going to do tyres, it's just that the fueling has taken a while. There we go, it's been a long stop, so a big refuel required, and the windscreen cleaning you saw going on is the only other work you're allowed to do while the fuel goes in. This is very good pit work as usual from the Vitaphone team. Be interesting to compare this to what we saw a little further up pit lane earlier on, Richard.
Well, yes, still waiting for the other side. There we go. He's about 30 seconds quicker at rest. That's a huge amount, isn't it? Absolutely huge amount.
Tells the story, which means that your new race leader is Xavier Marson, the Dutch driver in the SRT Racing Corvette, heads up the field now.
That was tremendously good work from Vitaphone Maserati, and we have seen them do that pit stop conjuring trick time and time again, and it puts them into contention in races in which they are not already in contention. And if they can grab that much time out of the race leader at one pit stop and do it at another one, they've got half a lap.
Miguel Ramos heads off round his first lap, get a bit of heat into the tyres. Meanwhile, in the race proper, if you like, Xavier Marson still heads the field with Lucas Littner-Hoyer second place last time round, but being tormented by Philip Peter in the number 10 Gigawave Aston, who was less than a second behind as they crossed the line last time round.
You know what they're doing, don't you? They're wondering whether or not to change the tyres at the next stop, aren't they?
Yes, you want to see if you can get away with it. We've run just over the hour, so we're into the second half of the race. May depend if the weather stays cooler, it may just give a little more longevity to those slicks.
If they can skip the tyre change at the next pit stop, as you saw, they can take anywhere between 15 and 25 seconds off the stop, depending on who it is and how lucky they are.
However, they do now have a second mandatory driver change, of course, so you've got to do that anyway, and it may be that you could do a tyre change within that time. Depends also how much fuel they need to put in. So many ifs and buts. One of the great pleasures as we watch the number 10 car coming up alongside, or attempting to coming up alongside Lucas Littner-Hoyer, but not able to make it stick. This 4-car bunch is all squabbling over third place.
We're in the cockpits now with Philip Peter.
Now, is that the bonnet loose on the Aston?
It's again, it goes the other way, doesn't it? So the air pressure is pushing it down, but it is definitely not fixed, is it? Oh dear, yellow flags, and that was why. Was that one of the Mosleys?
One of the Mosleys, from the look of it, stopped at the Rettifilio there.
I think more spun at the Rettifilio than stopped. If I were a betting man. But let's get back to this, because this, as Graham said, is the battle for a podium position. Masson leads it from the Grau at the moment, according to timing, and then this is third place. Behind is fourth, behind that is fifth, and behind that is sixth. So we've got a whole bunch of cars in the arc running once again, and there goes Philip Peter. That was the Moser that had spun, and as soon as that's, and it was Adam Lachko, that's towed out of the way.
Yeah, I think we saw Adam Lachko hand over at his pit stop, in fact, so maybe it was Alice Jurasek. We'll have to get confirmation on that. But meanwhile, the battle is still joined between these four. Lucas Littner-Hoyer having been passed now by Philip Peter in the Gigawave Aston, as the Ramos Maserati comes first through the picture. We're into Ascari, and now here comes Mike. Oh no, Jontoni Delatraz looking to take an inside line on Lucas Littner-Hoyer, but is having nothing of it. Mike Hazelman still trying to get past Delatraz as well.
So Masson leads it, and he's got the number 2 Maserati in the Grau behind him in second place. Here comes another attempt. He's not going to do it here, is he? Hazelman just watching in the background there, looking particularly dangerous, I thought, and not likely to show his teammate any mercy if he gets the opportunity to get past. What Mike Hazelman wants to do is just get on with it and go and win the race, and he'll pass his teammate. I bet he has a stab at him down here while he's thinking about Lucas Littner-Hoyer.
This has been a terrific thing to mark back over the last 2 seasons between Corvette and Aston. Look at Hazelman's come right down the inside into the area where the Pitex is just tapping, getting a little tap on the back of his teammate there. as you say, no love lost.
No mercy
No
shown, and he's
quarter
got a
after.
better drive out of Rettifilio. He's going round the outside as they run up towards Della Roggia. Can he pull it off here? He's side by side almost. He is a car width apart, I beg your pardon, and he's got it done, hasn't he?
He's going to have the inside line for Della Roggia, and Delatraz can do nothing but give way to Mike Hazelman's. Just that little tap unsettled the 5 car into Rettifilio, and from there on in, Hazelman's had the advantage and made it work. Here's the a replay of the pass coming into Della Roggia, and Lucas Lickner-Hoyer by no means giving up in his pursuit either of Philip Peter, who passed in the lap before. But a good move by Hazelman's, if perhaps a little robust in the initial phase of that, but he's got the result he needed to get past Anthony Delatraz, and he now can go off in pursuit of that podium spot himself.
This is 3rd place, this is Philip Peter, that's 4th place, Lucas Lickner-Hoyer, 5th place now, Mike Hazelman in the number 6 car, and Monza really suits the Corvettes. As you can see, they ride the curves nicely, they've got the power, and at the moment it is Corvette in the lead from Maserati, Aston Martin, Corvette, Aston Martin. Ryan Sharp in the 33 car is 7th at the moment. This is the GT2 story, and
it is that Ferrari's taken over.
Yes, and it is AF Corsa as well. Jimmy Bruni in the 50 car leading Rob Bell, the CR Scuderia 56. So the new GT2 leader after the pit stop round has shaken out is AF Corsa, and they're going to be hard to catch now, aren't they?
Collard is only a tenth of a second behind Robert Bell, and that's going to be very interesting to see. In fact, it looks as though he's passed him. So that's happened since they last crossed the line. Just a tenth separating them, but Collard has taken that second place away from Rob Bell in the CR Scuderia Ferrari and gone off in pursuit of Jimmy Bruni, trying to recapture the class lead that Richard Westbrook held for so long.
Jamie Davis at the wheel of the Scuderia Ecos Ferrari number 62. We're with him now. That's what, 5th place in GT2, and it's still together, isn't it?
Absolutely, 1st to 4th, they're all in one framed picture to come down to the Rettifilio once again. We're on board with class leader Jimmy Bruni.
Mirrors full of Porsche, but for how much longer? Collard was the man who hustled that car round here and grabbed not just the GT2 pole position by a useful margin, but looked like he could have had the overall pole for quite a while. And having said he is hard to catch, he's just been caught really, hasn't he? Collard's on his tail now, whatever the timing scheme said about last time round, he's there now. This is still going on as well.
Yeah, Mike Hazelman's having passed Anthony Delatraz, has towed Delatraz and himself up onto the back. In fact, Delatraz wants to look back down. He doesn't want to give way to Mike Hazelman's. Hazelman's has the inside line through Parabolica. Is he going to hold it tight enough in? That can Lucas Lickner-Hoyer take the slingshot round the outside? Yes, he has for the moment. Kept the position ahead, but Hazelman's has made his intentions clear. Last time through Rettifilio, he made a very robust move on his own teammate. You can't help thinking he wants to do the same. On to Lucas Lickner-Hoyer. They come
Coming
down
towards the end of it.
He's going to pull to the inside, but too far back to make it stick this time. They're wise enough to know that the racing line is the quicker one. In behind them, Ryan Sharp, having taken over from Carl Wendlinger, has brought that car up into contention as well. This whole bunch separated by less than a couple of seconds from 3rd through to 7th place on the road.
And Mike Hazelman having another look now at Lucas Lickner-Hoyer. It's really only a question of time before he does this. Mike Hazelman just looking for the opportunity and just keep on showing Lickner-Hoyer the front end. Oh, there it is. He's got the front end alongside him, and 59 being refueled in the pits.
That's the Richard Williams David Ashburn car. Driver change going on as is required by the rules.
Oh, here we go, and Hazelman, as expected, has made his pass, and Delatraz is going to do the same, I feel sure. Ryan Sharp will be there shortly, and now Philip Peter is the man under pressure.
Yes, Mike Hazelman's having cleared both of the cars between himself and Philip Peter, will now get real red mist coming down over the eyes, and want to grab that final podium spot and then look to improve on it.
Javier Masson leads this race by some 14 seconds.
Ryan Sharp.
I was going to say, here comes Ryan Sharp up on the inside of Delatraz, and that's over and done with before they got to the turn, wasn't it? and he's going after Lucas Lickner-Hoyer now. Delatraz going backwards pretty much as you predicted, Graham. He's not as quick in the car as his teammate, and the stopwatch leads you to that conclusion inevitably. And now he is joining in the battle, so the chase is on. Lickner-Hoyer is under pressure, and that's it done. That's just as easily. No, he gave him that. I'm sure that was a very gentlemanly thing to do. He knew Ryan Sharp was quicker in the car, and he allowed him all the position he wanted to get through there nice and safely.
Yeah, stayed well wide on the approach to the chicane there, but was smart enough to nip straight back in behind him to defend the position from Jean-Denis Delatraz behind. Make sure he didn't give away a place more than he needed to. But Ryan Sharp, RAC Tourist Trophy winner, remember, last time out, is making good progress back up the field.
Masson Ramos and Philip Peter, but there's Tony Villander in pit lane.
Tony, so far the race is going well for you?
Yeah, it's going well. It's really tight. I think the top 4 is really close. It's up to the last laps, I think. I hope the weather stays the same. It's been changing the whole weekend, so everything is possible, but until now everything is okay.
Yeah, the last few minutes it's certainly cooled down a little bit.
Yeah, it is, and the clouds are getting darker, so I hope it's not raining.
We'll wait and see. Thank you, Tony.
50 minutes to go on the clock, and Tony Villander this is what he's looking at, isn't it? He's got a Porsche breathing down his teammate's neck. Andrea Bertolini waiting to take over the number 1 Maserati when Michael Bartels brings it in. But Emmanuel Collard, as Graham was pointing out on the timing screen just now, really has taken the chase to the Ferrari, and now he is shaping up to do the deed, isn't he?
Fabulous battle, and great to see for GT2 aficionados that Porsche are able to challenge Ferrari head-to-head on this track, because it's been a while since we've seen this under dry conditions. Collard looking to the inside into Ascari. He's got that done already. No real fight back there from Jimmy Bruni, able to see that Collard had the quicker car and letting him through, I think, rather than defending the position into what is a very tricky chicane.
How many times have we sat here and said it's easy to catch the person in front, but the hard part is getting past? Wasn't then, was it?
No, I think Collard has genuinely got the quicker car. The Porsche has had the legs on any Ferrari here this weekend, any GT2 Ferrari anyway, because in the mix there in the picture we saw Gaston Mazzicane in the 37 550 Maranello, but this is the view now that Jimmy Bruni has of what was his class lead, which is now relinquished as past goes Mazzicane in the GT1 550 Maranello, and he'll gobble up Collard's place as well.
But look how much the camera lengthens the distance. Bruni is right behind Collard as they go for brakes, and he was just a little bit sideways. There's a pass going on in the background. Oh no,
we've lost something.
He's
there
overdone it, or
has he lost the brakes? Yeah.
62 there. That was the Scuderia Ecos of Jamie Davis, and whether he'd overdone it or whether, as Graham said, something perhaps went wrong there on the rundown.
Didn't look as though there was any attempt to slow down. I wonder if that was a defect rather than a driver error. I'm sure we'd have seen tyres locked up if he'd really been there.
So unusual to see Scuderia Ecos with a technical problem.
Bartels has brought the Maserati in. In fact, there it is, leaving pit lane. So their second mandatory stop and driver change now completed. Andrea Bertolini will rejoin the fray and ready to run through to the finish.
He's the first of the second stoppers, and that will again throw the race order into something like disarray. And Collard there, you just saw the top of the Porsche going through the picture, has still got Bruni right behind him, and he's still got that 575 right in front of him, so he's doing a good job hanging on to the Ferrari, which, as you said, was the thing in GT1 a couple of years ago, but now is easily overpowered by the current crop of GT1 cars.
If you ever wanted to know what it looks like to be in a GT2 race, you just got the picture. It's absolutely fantastic.
Collard and Bruni first and second, and then Thomas Biaggi is behind in the 51. Rob Bell for CR Scuderia is in 4th place. Jamie Davis was in 5th, but we're not sure what happened to him. He just went straight on at Rettifiglio, and he may be getting an ice cream in the park now. That is Parco di Monza if he just keeps going straight on. He wants back, doesn't he?
He does. He's showing a good turn of pace and brave under braking very late on the race into Rettifiglio, and still clambering all over the back of the Porsche, which is almost hampered through the slower sections of the course by the
and then the Porsche brakes later, turns through the chicanes quicker, closes up the gap, and then, as you say, he was almost having to back off going through the chicane, wasn't he?
Yeah, Jimmy Bruni, having been monstered by Collard for several laps, is now returning the favour, and Collard getting a good run back out of Della Roggia there, was looking to get on the inside. We've got activity on the pit wall for Maserati.
I think it's just Michael Bartel's running through the team strategy with everybody else now that he's out of the car.
Back to our GT2 lead battle, and what a battle it is. Collard just able to open out a car's length, which is something of a luxury for him at the moment as they come plunging down under the bridge and up to Ascari again. Both
of them got
made their way past the Gaston Mazzocani GT1 car, and coming into the mix now Thomas Biaggi in the second of the AF Corsa cars, in third place in GT2.
He's got to get past the 575 as well though, and that might take a little bit of time. It is Massad, Ramos, Peter Golin and Sharp in GT1 at the top end of the field, pretty much as before, and only a couple of small gaps in there. Ryan Sharp is closing right up on the tail end of Fabrizio Golin as we go back to our GT2 battle. Collard, Bruni, Biaggi, Bell, Davis, perhaps. I think not, probably.
Well, unless he did just miss a braking point, and rather than ruin the tyres trying to get through the chicane, decided to straight line it and make sure he didn't gain from that. So it's perfectly legitimate to do that. As long as you don't make a gain by missing the chicane, you won't be penalised.
Well, under pressure from Jimmy Bruni, but he's got a clear track in front of him. He closed right up, and it seems to be a little bit harder now for him to get away.
Collard no longer being impeded by the supposedly quicker GT1 car, but such is the pace in these leading GT2 cars that they're able to easily match the pace of a slower GT1. And Collard and Bruni putting on an absolute masterclass for anybody who wants to know how to drive a GT car quick round Monza.
Pit stop number 2 for the number 10 giveaway Aston Martin. Philip Peter putting Alan Simonson back in the seat. Race timer says there's 46 minutes to go, so this will be fueled for the finish. What are they going to do with tyres? There's nothing in the pit lane, Graham.
No, looks as though they're going to double stint them. This is what they did at Silverstone, and they very nearly got away with it. The tyres just going off towards the very end. Fuel still going in. Absolutely critical that they have enough fuel on board. We saw last year's winners in one of the races here penalised for not having enough fuel in the car at the end. They have to just running out on slowing down. That is not allowed here.
No, you have to bring the car back to parc fermé to be classified. Tape going onto that flappy bonnet as we saw, and they did that very quickly and very easily. They've saved something like 15 or 20 seconds on not changing the tyres, and that depends on the team manager's call. Nigel Stepley will have worked out how much time they would gain by having fresh rubber, and whether it is more or less than the time they would spend putting those fresh tyres on. Once the mathematics are done, the decision's easy.
Those tyres up to temperature, because the ones that are already on there will be considerably warmer than anything they could have put on that pit lane. Another little battle going on there in the background between another brace of Ferraris. So Alan Simonson back out on track after 2 stops, fuelled to the finish, we hope, but they was plugged in for quite a while to the fuel hose. Coming out just ahead of the Lamborghini of Roman Rusinov. We saw that car having a little examination in the pit lane to the left rear, but apparently healthy and continuing. So Peter Cox will take that car to the finish when it comes in for its second stop. Collard still ahead of Bruni, but still by less than a second at the head of the GT2 pack.
And of course Simonson's come out right in the middle of the GT2 battle, and he'll have to find his way past them as well. That's Collard. He has got some air now, hasn't he?
He's opened up a gap, hasn't he? And Jimmy Bruni not able to live with the pace of the Porsche. Simonson coming up to pass Thomas Biaggi.
Was that the race leader in the background? Oh look, there is Philip Peter with Diana.
No change of tyres on that one.
Yes, we just tried to change a little bit our strategy after this little mistake Alan had, but then the car seemed you know, was not 100% of the hit. We were losing a little the front engine cover, but the car was fine, you know. Just a little bit was tough when people were behind because we lost the left mirror. But the car was good for having chosen a middle way setup for rain and dry. Be okay. Now we're gonna see what the end brings.
A nervous last 40 minutes or so.
Sorry?
A nervous last 40 minutes or so.
Definitely yes. Cheers.
He didn't want to go on talking then, did he? Because he was out of breath like a man who's just run up 2 flights of stairs. That's how physical this sport and those cars are.
On board with Alan Simonson again.
Masson, Ramos, Hazeman, Sharp, La Hoya, Delatraz, and then Simonson possibly in 7th place after the pit stop shakedown, and as you can see, finding his way through the GT2 cars.
But they're now fueled and ready to the finish, where others have still got contact.
Which one? That is
that's the
36, isn't it?
The blue mirrors, and it's the 36. Yes.
I'm not seeing the windscreen wiper. It's got the little green stripe across the top of the screen, and I think it's 36. I think it's Lucas Lickner. It's Ryan Sharp. No. Well, he was catching. He seems to have caught up.
Sharp and Delatraz were in closer proximity, certainly, but
36. It's
I
36.
Yes, I'm going to say that didn't have the decal on the roof that for me separates the 33 and 36 cars. So unfortunately, it's Lucas Lickner who's tangled with Jean-Denis Delatraz, or vice versa, and the result is that both of them have ended up in the gravel.
Well, I'm not glad they had it coming together, but I'm glad it's not who we thought it was. It's taken a couple of cars out of contention of what was a very interesting 6 or 7 way battle for the last podium places, but it focuses our attention much more sharply at the front, and it looks like it'll be pit stop time for the final time for those people, as you say, Graham, who owe us a stop now.
And it improves the position, of course, for Alan Simonson, who was on the track behind both of those cars. He's now leapfrogged the pair of them and is up to 5th place in pursuit of Ryan Sharp.
So it's Masson who leads it, and the penalty of being the race leader by a considerable margin here is that we haven't seen him for about 25 laps, but he is 12 seconds clear of Miguel Ramos in the number 2 Maserati. Mike Hazeman is 3rd in the number 6 Corvette, and then Ryan Sharp, and that's him at the back of the picture there, is in 4th place. And as you say, Simonson now up to 5th, and we wait to see just how close that 5th is.
Yeah, the gap from Masson to Ramos has come down in this last segment by some 4 or 5 seconds, so still work to do for the Maseratis and work in progress.
Masson, Ramos, Hazeman, that's your top 3, and we've still got 14 minutes of racing ahead of us.
Alex, that's a disappointing end for you.
Well, shit happens. We'll see. When they pull out the car and he's coming back to the box, we fix it and I jump in and do the rest of the race. We'll see. We'll see how much damage it is. But yeah, it's bad luck.
Fair bit of time lost there. I'm sorry to see that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Thank you.
It's a fascinating afternoon here at Monza for the second round of the FIA GT Championship. You're looking at the 51 Ferrari of Thomas Biaggi, who is in third place in the GT2 race behind his teammate Jimmy Bruni, and the 50 car up front by some considerable margin now, having found clear air, is Emmanuel Collard. Into the pits comes the number 55 car. Tim Sugden will hand that back over at this pit stop from something like 6th place in the GT2. I can't count the little numbers quick enough because at the moment, as we've just seen, Jamie Davis, despite running on at the chicane, on the run down to Greta Filio and going straight through it, and we had a question mark. Did he have a brake problem, or has he just overdone it? The answer is he's just overdone it, and he's now up into 4th place. It says Graham, he was 3rd. Well, I think there may just have been a change. 4th, and this man, Thomas Biaggi, is his next target if he can catch it. But it's got a Porsche, AF Corsa, and then best of the rest. And best of the rest at the moment, Scuderia Ricosta looking good.
Yeah, and how refreshing to be able to say it's Porsche, AF Corsa, and then the rest, because Porsche have had a rough time lately in the GT categories. The Ferrari 430, when it came on stream, absolutely blew away the Porsches, and they took a very different look at GT regulations when they built the Porsche 997, and the 430 had the leg to it, but Porsche have reacted well over this winter, and the proof of the pudding is here for us to see. Fantastic racing all through the field in GT2, very closely bunched. There's a whole group running down from 2nd to 5th in that class, covered by a second or two.
Yes, as we were saying yesterday during qualifying, I think the minimum weight for the GT2 cars is dependent upon engine size, and by reducing the engine capacity of the F430 to 4 litres, by giving away 300cc, which is a whole motorbike engine, they've been able to get it under 1100 kilos and save 50 kilos in weight. And they considered that the 50 kilo weight saving was worth giving away 300cc's of engine capacity, because they could screw the engine up a bit tighter and get almost as much horsepower out of it. And it is a vicious little thing going down pit lane, isn't it? That thing rattles.
Absolutely, and looking at the Scuderia Ricosta version there, as that's the lead, as through goes the Porsche, and then this phalanx of Ferraris following, curb hopping again from Thomas Biaggi, GT1 champion last year, running a GT2 this. Jimmy Bruni, his teammate, just ahead of him by 3/4 of a second, but it's Emmanuel Collard who holds that lead still by some 6 or 7 seconds from the pursuing pack of Ferraris. Still, of course, all of this group, as have most of the GT1 cars, have another pit stop to make. Up at the head of the field, Martin still heads Ramos in GT1, but by a diminishing margin.
And, of course, of that leading group of GT1 cars, only the number 10 Aston Martin of Alan Simonson has stopped, and the rest owe us their final pit stop. Obviously, they'll be able to save a bit of time as the leader comes in. This is Masson's last pit stop, and we thought... They're trying to make this driver change as quick as possible, because if they can fuel it with a little less fuel, because they've only got 35 minutes to go, they means that Bouchou can get a faster turnaround in pit lane, get the car back out on track a little bit quicker. But they fumbled the driver change, and it's touch and go whether they'll finish the fueling before they finish the driver change. No tyres.
No tyres. Tyres were laid out for the car ready, but waved away by Christophe Bouchou, saying no, not a problem, we'll carry on as we are.
They've saved about 15 seconds there, and this is really very critical. And car number 10 gets a drive-through penalty, and I presume that's a speeding in the pit lane offence.
Well, it'll blunt the attack of Alan Simonson back up through the field, which is a great shame, because he's been doing sterling work in his recovery drive back up through. Remember, they took their first pit stop early, were playing catch-up ever since. But that's the job completed for the SRT team. Xavier Martin handing over Christophe Bouchou, and still second place Miguel Ramos has a stop to make, as does Mike Hazeman's in the third place Corvette.
Ryan Sharp's in the pits at the moment. So the 33 Aston Martin, the surviving Jet Alliance car, the Hoyer car has gone following a touch. Well, he might be out there somewhere, but he's right down the field now, following a touch with Delatraz. But we do have Xavier Masson in pit lane now.
Javier, that was quite an interesting pit stop there. You seem to be sort of thrown out of the car, but obviously you're still in front at the moment.
Yeah, we had a good pace. I mean, Christophe did a good job. Apparently on the pit stop we did a good job. So I came back, I think P5 or P6, but then we walked up the grid and suddenly I had P1 on my dash. So I tried to maintain a good pace and yeah, it worked out quite well. So yeah, we did well. Just on the pit stop, I don't know how the time was, but I think my drinking tube was a bit stuck somewhere, so I couldn't get out. It was stuck. So with a little bit of help of Christophe, I got out.
So you obviously dashed off to get a drink, a much needed drink.
Yeah, but we have a drink on the way, so it's no problem.
Thank you.
All right, brilliant.
Couldn't get out, so Christophe Bouchou dragged me out.
Into the pits comes Mike Hazelmans from what was second place. Miguel Ramos still showing in the lead by dint of not having made his stop yet. In and out, that's a very good turnaround by the crew. As in walks, that's Jean-Denis Delatraz, who has been asked to report to the headmaster at the end of the race, as has the number 36 driver Lucas Lipnahoya, the two of them having that contact. And how exactly do I get back?
Lost, isn't he? He's lost.
I know how to do it in the car, but walking is new to me. How do I do this?
Out goes the 33 Jet Alliance car. Everybody now, I think, has... Oh, no, yeah, leader Miguel Ramos, as you say. Hazelman showing in second place on our timing screen isn't, because he's been in and out. So 33 has completed stop number 2. Was that quite a long one?
For the Jet Alliance car?
Yes, it showed up as being in the pits at the same time as we were starting to talk to Javier Massa.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. There's Lucas Lipnahoya making his rather forlorn way back to the pits as well.
See, he seems to know the way though, doesn't he? Because he's done that walk before today. He had a little moment earlier in the rain, and that's the second time the car's been in the war, second time he was at the wheel when it occurred. But let's go back to what's happening in the race. It's Ramos and then Hazelman, Bouchou, somewhere in that mix, as in comes Jamie Davis to pop this Scuderia Ecos car back into the hands of Fabio Babini and rejoin that very close and hard-fought GT2 battle. We'll find out where in a minute. what was a very interesting GT2 race here at Monza is about to become even interestinger, if you can believe such a thing, because you're looking at the GT2 leader, Emmanuel Collard, in the 61 Porsche there. He has not made his second mandatory pit stop and driver change, but as you can see by looking at the 51 car, Thomas Biaggi, just about everybody else in GT2 has. In fact, well, there's still a couple at the tail end of the top 6, but most of the front runners have made their second stop. Now, by running this long in the race, going as far as he has, Collard can stop shorter because he needs less fuel, so that his pit stop will be trimmed. So there's an advantage to doing what he's doing. Plus, he's the faster of the two drivers in the car, so you leave him in it for as long as you can. And he's going to have to make a stop soon, though, and when he does, we will have to wait a whole lap to find out what the actual story is in terms of race position. But this is turning into a very interesting plot indeed. We've had some fantastic racing in GT2 from start to finish. Now there's a little tactical game going on here, something which to think about as well.
Yes, only about 5.5 seconds separated Collard from the AF Corsa car before that pit stop happened. So it will be absolutely crucial that the Porsche crew in the pit lane get their bit of the equation right, as we look at the 57 car of Henri Moser coming in, the Kessel Racing car, a little way down the order, but a good showing for them. They're about 7th in GT2. Here are the two AF Corsa cars, again nose to tail.
A little bit of a tussle going on there, if I'm any judge, between 50 and 51. And finally, in comes our race leader, Miguel Ramos, in the number 2 Maserati. We've been waiting for this pit stop for quite some time. He's the last, is he? Yes, the last of the front-running GT1 cars to make the stop. How quickly can they turn this round?
Alexander Legrau will be desperate to get aboard and get strapped in. Looks as though they, as others, are going to gamble on making the tyres last for this final 24.5 minutes.
It won't start. The time is ticking away. They've done a fantastic 16-second pit stop and it won't go. So this is your new race leader by some considerable margin now. Christophe Bouchou in the number 3 SRT Corvette will take over. Then finally that gets going. He's lost at least 10 seconds getting that car restarted, and that's ruined his afternoon. The gap was quite a considerable one, but I think he might just have gotten it all the way.
Yes, it looks as though it's certainly eaten well into it. Christophe Bouchou thundering around in the SRT Corvette, and what a good result that would be for this team in only their second full season race, if you like, in GT1, as still of course the boys are at it hammer and tongs, no quarter given or asked. Both have made their second stops. It's Tony Vilander ahead of the man with the wearing car, Christian Montanari.
Yes, whose turn is it to win this week? I can't remember. Let's just go and sort it out among ourselves.
It's Emmanuel Collard's, and they are still both behind Collard and Malucelli in the BMS Scuderia Italia car, but of course both of those have yet to make their second stops, and the gap between Collard and Vilander was such that Collard should, with a bit of luck and slick pit work, be able to remain in the lead, but I think you'll find that Malucelli will tumble back down, so the AF Corsa cars resume their second and third spots as we look at the second and final stop for the number 95 car, again crewed by a pair of Argentine drivers, in respect of the fact that we are heading to Argentina for our final race this season.
We'll be there in November, when thankfully the weather will be a lot better than it is now. Ramos might just pull off a bit of a trick here and come out in front of Bouchou when they come round at the end of this lap. Looking at the timing screens, we'll wait and see. These two are racing each other though. Bouchou on top as he goes across the start-finish line. The timing says that little hiccup in pit lane did indeed cost the number 2 Maserati the lead of the race. Where will he be? He's behind Hazeman, I think, and that's not really very good at all. Everyone has stopped now except Bert Longin in the number 4 Celine, and when he stops he's going to go a long way down the leaderboard. This is a very leisurely stop, isn't it? I think he's been into the shop, bought some crisps and a drink for the rest of the drive. That was a very long period rest for the Ferrari there.
And look on that picture at the clouds above this circuit. They are getting darker and darker. We could be in for a very interesting last few minutes, Richard, if we get rain.
Yes, well, we have got 21 minutes left to go. That's the first time we've seen the hills around the Monza circuit for all weekend, really. And as soon as we get a glimpse of them, you can see the clouds are back and hanging over us. And as Graham says, if we get rain now with everybody out on slicks, it's going to be a very, very interesting 20 minutes. Bouchou, Hazeman, Ramos, Longin, Simonson is in 5th place after being a bad boy and having to do a stop-go penalty.
Yeah, Ramos having just handed over to Alexandre Negrão in the number 2 car, so he inherits 3rd place on the way out. But Bert Longin still to take his 2nd stop in the Celine is in 4th, with Alan Simonson in 5th in the Aston Martin, having taken their drive-through penalty.
In GT2, Manuel Collard owes us a pit stop. He's still got 20 minutes to make it, but he's taking this. That car must be very, very user-friendly in terms of fuel consumption. You'd sort of think he'd be looking at the fuel gauge, waiting for that orange light to come on and just tap it in the tank. He'd be driving from side to side down this straight on his final lap in.
Well, Collard is clearly in the groove, isn't he? He's got all the pace that he needs in that car, and he's driven it beautifully throughout. As in comes Mike Hazeman's now. What's this about?
Comes out of 3rd place, and he's made 2 pit stops.
It's fuel. I wonder if that was that they short fueled him on the previous stop, because this can't be in the game plan.
Just a splash and dash with 20 minutes remaining. And it took his time firing up as well. It was a splash and not much of a dash, really, wasn't it? That's a very costly pit stop. And I wonder if they made a little calculation error when they refueled him at the previous stop. Everybody was hustling to get the cars turned around as fast as possible, and I wonder if they just got that wrong.
Yes, may just have not got the literage quite right.
Because that's going to drop him out of this little trio. That's a podium position gone, I would have thought. Bouchou, Ramos in 2nd place, and Hazeman now, where's he going to be after Bert Longin makes his stop, and Simonson moves up into at least 4th, if not 3rd place, and a 2nd podium finish in a row for the new Gigawave Motorsport team and their Aston Martin. That wouldn't be a bad start to the year, would it?
Not at all. There's the 550 Maranello, still for my money one of the prettiest GT1 cars out and about, and a very purposeful beast in its time. Just getting a bit long in the tooth now, and not having had the developments in recent years, as we're back on the pit wall with Xavier Marson.
He's watching the screens as closely as we are. Bouchou has got 21 seconds of a lead from 2nd place Miguel Ramos. Mike Hazeman's been in for a refuel, so he won't be coming round in 3rd place. Bert Longin owes us a pit stop, so it doesn't matter if he comes round or not. And then it is Alan Simonson.
Still these two AF Corsa cars are tied together, but here's our 33 Carl Wendlinger looking to make up places, and behind them is a car we've not seen very much of, the Labre Competition Celine, looking to take a place back away from Fabio Babini in the GT2 Scuderia Recos car.
Collard, Vilander, Montanari, and then Babini. So Scuderia Recos still looking best of the rest behind the 2 AF Corsa Ferraris, and that still running Porsche of Emmanuel Collard, and that this is not for class position, although it is for track position, and the Celine getting very anxious behind the Babini as they hop the curbs.
Yes, already a lap ahead of him, and standing by, waiting for the moment to come. Still, we've got Collard.
Here he is.
Long last. Oh no, that's the 60 car, and it looks as though it's got damage to the left rear there.
It's got something dragging along the ground. Yes, it has indeed got damage, Graham. So we're still waiting for Emmanuel Collard.
And they won't want that car sitting in the pit stall right alongside where Collard is due to come in.
refuel as a matter of course. Driver change, and it's been clobbered at the back, hasn't it, quite severely. They ought to do something about this though, but they can't do that while the fuel pump is plugged in.
Marcus Altala handing over, having had contact with something or another car. Whether scenery or car caused that, we know not, but the result is the same and it's damage. Michael Forston, former show jumper in the equine world, equestrian world, will be taking over the car, and they'll send it out in the same slightly sorry condition in which it came in.
I think he just only caught a glimpse of that at the last moment, didn't he? Fairly obvious that it was a problem. Here's our number 10 car. He's in third place now, and he is a long way behind second place, so this is just a question of bringing it home for a podium in 16 minutes time for Alan Simonson.
So that fuel stop for Hazelman's cost them that. Here's Bert Longing getting out and strapping Anthony Kumpen back in from what was fourth position, but they'll drop a little way down the order as a result of this final late stop. But Alan Simonson in the Gigawave Aston looking for a second straight podium finish, in third place at the moment. Slight hesitation from the Celine, which gets away. They've had a difficult time, and now finally we get Emmanuel Collard in with just 15 minutes and a few seconds left to run. He's going to hand over back to Richard Westbrook to see if they can take that car for the first Porsche GT2 win for many a long time.
Well, it must have come in running on air, that thing, mustn't it? It must weigh nothing now because there can't be any fuel left in it. And how nice is it to see the number 4 Celine up at the front end of the field. That car is not competitive. It's giving away 20 kilometres an hour in every single one of the speed timing checks. There are 3 of them, and it's 20 kilometres an hour slow at every single one. But they've worked a bit of strategy, done a bit of driving, and they've got themselves a bit of a result going on. They got a result going on here with this 61 car? That is the question. Was that good enough?
Great quick stop by the Pro Speed people. I don't think they could have done it any better than that if they tried. The other gap we need to keep an eye on is that of Mike Hazelman's to Alan Simonson, because there wasn't a great deal in it, and Hazelman certainly had the red mist down after his stop for fuel there, but they were trading time last time round within a couple of thousandths of a second of each other, so that could be a battle to watch towards the end of this event.
Difficult job for the incoming driver, as you say. He's got into a hot car and he's not up to temperature or pressure himself, and he's got a bit of work to do, and we'll find out how he gets on with the last 14 minutes of this race. Well, just how interesting is this last 11 minutes of the second round of the FIA GT Championship going to be? We've got two battles going on. This is one of them. We're riding with the number 10 Aston Martin of Alan Simonson. Behind him in fourth place, and not very far behind him, as you can see, is the yellow Corvette of Mike Hazeman. The two Ferraris in the picture are chasing after the Porsche of Richard Westbrook, which leads GT2. And so we've got two battles that are going to rage for the next 10 minutes and could go either way, and it's just about the best you can hope for.
Christian Montanari there in the 51 car, all over the back of Tony Vilander into Redefino last time. Mike Hazeman has to clear these two cars, which Alan Simonson already has, having caught them at just the right spot. If Hazeman catches them at just the wrong spot, he'll be held up for quite some while, and Simonson can make good his escape and hold on to that final podium position. Last of the pit stoppers is Ben Alcott, handing back to Stefan Daoudi in the JMB Racing Maserati. This is the GT2 leader, Richard Westbrook, having taken over for the last 12-13 minutes or so. There's the battling pair of Ferraris, now split by Mike Hazeman's Corvette. He's got past the Montanari car. He now needs to get past Tony Vilander cleanly so he can go off in pursuit of Alan Simonson, who's the second. There he is now, just going through into Ascari. Hazeman's makes the pass as well, and now we've got a straight fight between the Corvette in fourth and the Aston Martin in third for what remains of this race.
Christophe Bouchou leads it. Let us not forget he is 21 seconds to the good in front of Miguel Ramos, and then the number 10 Aston Martin. Oh yes, of course it's the wrong transponder in the car. It's Alex de Grauw who's taken over from Miguel Ramos and forgot to change the timing transponder, which the drivers carry with them, or most of them do. Some have stuck to the car, some have them stuck to their overalls, and some just don't have them at all. And in the case of Alex de Grauw, he hasn't got one. But Collard has put this car in the lead, Graham. Sorry to interrupt you. Fantastic driving job he's done, and he looked as if he'd just been out for a Sunday afternoon stroll.
Just slipping the overalls on to look smart.
Window.
Yeah, I think it was really important because the weather changed at the moment, so it was really important to stay as long as we can to be sure that when we stop, we get the right tires, because at the moment we don't know what's going on. We still have 10 minutes to go and it starts to rain a little bit. So
it's been very close, hasn't it, GT2?
Yeah.
There has been the lead has been changing quite a lot.
Yeah, since last year already, the competition is there. But I'm really happy at the moment. The car is quite really good. The Porsche is quick, and I hope we can win this race.
I hope they can win it as well, really. To be quite honest, it would be quite a pleasant change to see something other than a Ferrari winning in GT2. As we were saying, we think it's a very long time since Porsche won a GT2 race.
Yes, the Spa, well, in this series, certainly the Spa 24-hour race was my last recollection of a GT2 win for Porsche in the FIA GTs. They've had success in other series, both here in Europe and over in the States, but the FIA chances have eluded them. The two AF Corsa cars, meanwhile, are so embroiled in their own battle, they haven't really got time to worry about what Porsche are doing up the road.
Well, interestingly enough, they're about a second off the pace of Richard Westbrook. He's doing 151s, they're doing 152s. That's because they're racing each other, and with 7 seconds of a margin between the Ferrari you're looking at and the Porsche you cannot see which leads GT2, that's doing Richard Westbrook plenty of favours at the moment. He'll be very happy about that. They need to take a second a minute out of him if they want to catch him, and I don't think that's doable.
No, not for the moment. We've got very few laps remaining, only less than 7.25 minutes on the clock, and still this battle royal rages. There are no team orders as such in the AF Corsa, as far as I'm aware, and certainly they'll be told not to take each other off, but other than that, team honour is absolutely paramount.
So Porsche leads it from Ferrari, 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 and up front it's Corvette from Maserati, from Aston Martin, from Corvette.
And still this victory at Monza eludes the Maserati mark. The MC12 has been a very, very potent race car. Oh, flying through across the curbs there in his pursuit, and Jimmy Bruni there in the background looking a little anxious. Not his car, the one in which his teammate is heading the AF Corsa battle was the one, Montanari was the one who was pursuing, and that's actually allowed a little bit of a breakaway for Tony Vilander. That's as big a gap as we've seen between the two of them, and in the meantime the Maserati is going to split them further. So Richard Westbrook there making his way through as they come up to Ascari. That's the gap that we saw between first and second in class. Second and third now separated by the Maserati number 1, which again has not had the best of days. Andrea Bertolini managing to haul the car up to 5th place at the expense of Anthony Kumpen-Celine.
Yeah, waving blue flags at Andrea Bertolini at this stage. At the AF Corsa guys, at this stage of the proceedings is no good at all. Bertolini goes straight past on the run to Parabolica. That's the difference between GT1 and GT2 if you ever wanted to know. And going up, going down through the gears. What happened there?
Now, is that a problem for the 50 car?
I was just going to say going up through the gears, but he didn't, did he? He had a little bit of an issue there coming out of Parabolica, but it doesn't seem to have cost him any time.
Unless it was that we were not getting the correct audio stream. Occasionally these things can happen. Very confusing for us mere amateurs. 51 is still certainly in hot pursuit, so if there was a moment it was a temporary blip, and the battle is rejoined. Another battle is still going on, not on picture but on the timing scoring, is that Mike Hasemans is slowly nibbling away at Alan Simonson, but is it too slowly? Because the gap is 2.5 seconds and there are only, well, fewer than 5 minutes left.
There's still about 7 or 8 seconds between the Porsche in the lead of GT2 and this pair and their private duels. I think Richard Westbrook, as long as they got enough fuel in it when they did that last minute splash when he took the car over from Emmanuel Collard, he's home and not dry. And as you can see, Philip Peter on the pit wall there with the rest of the team. They had a podium last time out of their first attempt. They're looking for a podium this time out on their second attempt. That would be a really good launch pad for this GT Championship and a brilliant way for a new team to come racing. Bouchou looks pretty safe with 23 seconds in hand over Miguel Ramos. Not Miguel Ramos, Alex de Grael in the number 2 car, and then behind that is this car. And when he comes across the line here now, the timing screen will click up and tell us the gap between 3rd place and 2nd place, and it's 31 seconds.
And the gap between 3rd and 4th is just 2.6, so traffic not helping Mike Hasemans that round. Got caught behind the white Porsche with the red stripe that you can see in the background there, but Hasemans now again has clear track between himself and Alan Simonson, and just a couple of laps or so to try and bridge that gap. It's looking like a tall order, but Mike Hasemans is not a quitter.
No, he's a very determined racer, as you say, Graham, and he's got at least 2 laps. Maybe he'll scrape 3. I can't quite work the mathematics out. He's going to get 2 laps over and done with, but the leader might have already crossed the line before the clock goes 0, so he may get 3 laps, which is about 18 kilometres, 20 kilometres in which to chase down the number 10 Aston Martin.
There is the Aston, and there is Mike Hasemans in pursuit. That's the gap after nearly 2 hours of racing between 3rd and 4th places.
And let's not forget that both of these people, Haseman and Simonson, have had to do pit stop penalties, so that's why they're so close together. They both made 3 stops, and he's using it all, isn't he? Coming out of Ascari there, right over onto the almost into the rough. Yeah, I think he was still just about on the fairway, wasn't he?
Just about, yeah. And he won't want to get caught up behind traffic through Parabolica. Fabulous in-car shots.
No trouble for him. That was exactly the right moment, I think, for both of these cars, because he's going to stitch up the Gilles Vertigo, the G2 Belgian entry there, and the Ferrari's going to go with him if it can, but I don't think yes it can. 2 of them have got through now. Haseman's got 2 cars between him and Simonson. He's got a minute and 50 seconds on the clock. Well, I think that's it really.
And Simonson had the faster lap of the 2 by a whole 400ths of a second the last time round. So, battle royal.
Richard Westbrook's actually 9 seconds ahead of Tony Vilander now, so he's opened up even more of a gap at the head of the GT2 field. So with a minute and 30 seconds on the timer, we can say, I think, that the battles are over and everybody out there is going to settle for finishing where they are.
I'd like to tell Christian Montanari that, as he is only half a second behind his teammate, but it is his teammate, and at this point they may be under a three-line whip to just stay where they are.
And he has been half a second behind him for the past 10 minutes. This is our race leader now, and he will get the checkered flag next time he goes across the start-finish line, because he's lapping in the 146s and there's less than a minute to go, and he's just starting his final lap. This is a fine result for SRT. We haven't seen much of them because Bouchou and Massa between them have galloped away and disappeared and been in clear air. And look at the gap now. 30 seconds almost. No, it's 23, not almost 30 seconds. 23 seconds after 2 hours. That's good work for these boys. Very good.
And again, vindicating the existence of these C6R Corvettes. They really are wonderful machines. Very strong racing on both sides of the Atlantic, and bringing them over here and running them in the GT1 category in the FIAs has been an absolute boon for not just this team but for Phoenix and others around them as well. Flashing headlights to warn those ahead that I'm coming through. Make your own arrangements. Bouchou takes no prisoners even at this stage of the race.
And you say for the other teams, and of course Phoenix lost a car, and we're not quite sure how that happened, but one of those cars involved in a little tussle with one of the Jet Alliance Aston Martin. So there would otherwise have been 3 of the Corvettes in the top 5. As it is, we've got 2 of them, and Kumpen in the background of the shot there, you just caught a glimpse of the number 4 Celine in 6th place. That's, again, I'm very pleased. They take their racing very seriously and they really like to do well, and they put an awful lot of effort into getting up the leaderboard with a car that doesn't belong there. But there is the checkered flag for the number 3 SRT Corvette. Masson on the pit wall is a very happy Dutchman, isn't he?
Absolutely. Xavier Masson just into this championship for the first year and already got a top spot on the podium to show for it. Congratulations to Celisla Racing, SRT. Let's get it down in one piece. We need him for the podium.
Maserati have stealthed their way into 2nd place again.
Yes.
And Alex de Grauw with the number 2 car, and he's going to finish ahead of Simonsen and Hazeman. But there's your GT2 leader, the Porsche, now driven by Richard Westbrook, which he shares with Emmanuel Collard, and he's just half a lap from home, unwinding through the final chicane for the final time. He'll look ahead to a nice long straight run up towards Parabolica, and he's going to be a couple of laps, 3 laps down in fact, on the GT1 winner. So 3 laps is the difference, the performance differential between GT1 and GT2 here at Monza, and you have to say that is the performance leader of the weekend, isn't it, that car?
Absolutely. If there's to be a car of the weekend, perhaps it is finally the 997 showing good. But what a race it's been all the way through. Battles up and down the field.
What a fine performance from Emmanuel Collard. I've got to say, if I was picking a man of the match for this race, I might have to say it would be Collard, because he has really driven beyond himself, hasn't he?
Yes, he's one of those drivers who, whatever car he gets in for a weekend, he's quick from the off. And the 2 AF Corsa cars crossing the line side by side with Vilander, maintaining 2nd place in class for Ferrari ahead of Christian Montanari, and Fabio Babini in the Scuderia Ricoste car next up.
Yeah, 4th place, and as we've been saying, best of the rest, because AF Corsa obviously are the best 2 Ferraris, and to be best of the rest is no mean achievement when you look at the names behind them. And CR Scuderia perhaps not quite as happy with their outing here at Monza as they were in Silverstone.
No, they finish up behind the BMS Scuderia Italia team, which I'm sure wouldn't be what they would have anticipated. Not to take anything away from BMS, because they've made the transition from Aston Martins in GT1 to Ferraris in GT2 this season, and seem to have made the step down very well indeed. If it is indeed a step down, it's not a step down in terms of competition, because it's as tough as ever in GT2. However, here is how it finished.
Yes, 1st place for Bouchou and Masson, 2nd place for the Maserati. Aston Martin gets 3rd place in a double podium in 2 outings for Philip Peter and Alan Simonsen and Gigawave Motorsport. They will be very pleased about that. Mike Hazeman won't be too disappointed, I think, with 4th place here, considering he started from the very back of the grid after being knocked off on the outlap in qualifying by Celine going backwards.
I'm betting you will want to ask questions of the team there how it was that they had to come in for that extra fuel stop, because that should have been able to be avoided.
Well,
1.6 seconds at the flag was all they had to find.
Masson and Bouchou there for the photographers. And I saw a couple of photographers talking to Masson earlier on, just on the last couple of laps, and I presume they were setting up the big celebration shot. And they obviously do look very happy, but you can hear the officials there anxious to get them to the podium.
Christophe Bouchou will be delighted to be up at the top end of things again. He's been in this series probably longer than he cares to remember, but always been a tough driver, always been a very fast one.
Well, with a bit of luck, we'll find out how it felt to take the checkered flag at the end of 2 hours here. That is Christophe Bouchou, helmet off.
Christophe, many congratulations. What does that win mean to you? Oh, he's just being congratulated here. Christophe, what does the win mean?
It's wonderful because it's the first time for SRT. It's a small private team, and the car is just amazing, wonderful, no problem. And we had a perfect race without any trouble, any problem. So it's a perfect race.
Perfect for you and Xavier today?
Yes, really good. And I think also for the championship, it's a good thing.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Well, Christophe Bouchou quite plainly delighted, being congratulated. He's been kissed, really, wasn't he?
Very happy camper, and quite rightly too. And Santi Negrão there in bringing the Maserati home in second place with the help of Miguel Ramos.
Can't see what's on his crash helmet. He was anxious to show us then, but he looks like he's been working a lot harder than Christophe Bouchou. It's odd, really, because I was just watching Bouchou and he doesn't look at all out of breath or exerted, does he? Like Collard, he looks like he's perfectly at home in the car, but Negrão there looking as if he's been working hard.
Bouchou's had a few more years of practice in these cars with lids.
And as you say, a narrow call on third place for the Phoenix team, and a splash and dash really ensuring that Simonsen and Peter held onto it. 2 podiums in a row. This will make the championship interesting. I should be interested to see the points in a moment or two and find out exactly how it shapes up. Bouchou very happy because he knew he was going to be leading it, and Sharp and Wendlinger in second place. They did finish in 7th place, just getting a couple of points to add to the 10 they got for winning last time out. Michael Bartel's in 5th place there, also on 12 points, which he shares with his co-driver Andrea Bertolini. Peter and Simonsen 12 points to 2
in a tie.
Yeah, 2 third places in a row, and that's just about everybody on 12 points really, apart from Bouchou and Masson, isn't it?
Yeah, and the second Maserati team filling out the top 10. So again, Vitaphone Maserati looking strong in the team's side of the championship.
Well, Bouchou, Ramos, Simonsen and Hazemans, that's how it ended after 2 hours of this. Well, that's what we've been following for the last 2 hours. Let's have a look at the GT2 points now. And that's a good win for Emmanuel Collard and Richard Westbrook, isn't it?
Yes, they'll be delighted with that, as will everybody at Porsche. For the first time in a long time, I haven't seen Norbert Singer here this weekend to oversee Porsche operations. Perhaps he needs to stay away more often. He should have been retired anyway in his own eyes. But of course, are bringing up second and third, completing the podium sweep.
Yeah, so it's a long time, as you say, since we've seen Porsche on top of the points table or on top of the podium. Spa last year. Porsche obviously excels in the really long distance endurance races. It's pretty much what the car is built for. It's built for places like Spa as well. But where it's all about horsepower and all about speed here at Monza, as you can see, this has been a Porsche circuit.
Yes, it has this weekend, and they will be very pleased to have overcome Ferrari in their spiritual home, if you like.
Well, on top of the points, Jimmy Bruni, Tony Verlander, Collard and Westbrook right behind. That is very interesting for the championship going forward, isn't it, as we go to the next round. Adria is another Italian racetrack, and it is totally different to this one, but that's where we go next, and I think it's unlikely that Porsche will find it as easy to run with the leaders there.
No, fewer passing opportunities, nowhere for the Porsche to really stretch its legs. But it's a good circuit and gives us good racing even so, and an evening race always makes life interesting.
Indeed, that's what we'll be doing next time out at Adria. We start on Saturday night and run through the sunset. But we'll miss opportunities like this. A huge long run down past the pits, and then the chance to play the late braking game going into Rettifilo. This is so Monza, isn't it?
Absolutely, and Aston and Corvette have given us a absolutely stunning race this afternoon, as has the Maserati, not quite able to rattle Christophe Bouchou into any sort of mistake and get the win that Maserati would, I'm sure, so desperately love here at Monza.
Well, as a matter of interest, Bouchou, you said, wasn't backing off at the end of the race, was he? He was still on it and added a second to his lead on the final lap.
And it was his